I want to welcome everyone. This is Steve Hoffaker. Thanks for joining us for our regular professional development series. This one, we are welcoming Margie McNally, an interior designer, NCIDQ, CAPS, and lead AP, and probably a couple of others that I'm leaving off. So Margie is extremely qualified when it comes to lighting and design, and that's why we're looking forward to this program. She's entitled her program Lighting for the Aging Eye. Fits in very well with a lot of the work that we're doing. We're going to let her go for 40, 50 minutes, and then she's going to take questions at the end. So as you have questions, rather than interrupt her, if you would just please put them in the chat box and I will pose them to her when we get towards the end. So I'm going to mute myself and everyone else, and Margie, it's all yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to your group, past students, past CAP students. My name is Margie McNally. Most people call me Margie. My formal name is Marjorie. It comes up that way because I teach for Boston Architectural College, and that's how they have me, as Marjorie. But anyway, just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I've been practicing interior design for over 30 years with a focus more on sustainable design. I've always been interested in green design and healthy interiors and livability, recyclability, you name it. And it's just recently, within the last couple of years, that I was interested in getting my CAP certification. During COVID, actually, it made it a lot easier because I was able to do it online. And I tend to revert back to lighting. I find it extremely fascinating because we can control it to help us and make our lives better. And what I've done is taken all of my experience with sustainable design and healthy living and green design and wrapped it right into one offering to help people that are aging in place, because all of those things are important. So that's a little bit about me and my background, and I hope to get to know you all a little bit more at the end of the presentation. So in this module, the objectives would be how to consider the lighting needs of the aging eye. We're going to discuss how much lighting is needed in any room of the home. We're going to learn how to use lumens to select light levels for interior spaces. And we're going to learn what correlated color temperature is and color rendering index, and how to understand the effects of lighting on mood and health and sleep and wake cycles. And then finally, we'll learn how to select specific lighting fixtures and controls for senior environments. Let me go back one. As the aging population in the United States continues to grow, designers and architects are beginning to design projects with the healthcare needs of older adults in mind. To accomplish this goal, they need to access the most up-to-date information. Establishing a foundation of credible, current research ensures that clients and designers can make evidence-based decisions, enabling them to meet the end user's needs by creating a space that positively impacts their well-being. Particular concerns include fall risk, socialization, physical and mental stimulation, and well-being. And that comes from the M&A Architects. It's a research study that was done in 2018. So as we age, our vision decreases. Lighting is an area of particular importance to older adults. Over the past decade, rapidly evolving technologies have impacted the human experience of interior environments. Research has found that older adults frequently perceive lighting in their environments as good enough. However, studies have shown that in reality, most spaces designed specifically for older adults are severely underlit. Research has shown that older adults are often unaware of the changes in their vision, and so they continue to light their environments with the same floor lamps, table lamps, and night lights as they always have. In 2018, M&A Architects published a research report concerning lighting for senior living. The research generated 3 categories of lighting effects and approaches to design, which include emotional balance, performance, and fall prevention. We are going to discuss these 3 categories as we move through the presentation. But first, let's look at some of the physical aspects of the aging eye. Some of the things that we will notice are pupils become smaller, lenses become thicker and they yellow. There is a decreased elasticity, which affects accommodation and adaptation. Accommodation is the process of focusing the eye at different distances, and adaptation is the ability to adjust vision in bright and dark areas. And then we'll define floaters in an upcoming slide. So let's first look at the changing lens. The aging cornea not only flattens, limiting the ability to focus, but may also be flecked with fatty deposits that reduce transmission of light. Increased scattering of light gives the cornea a yellowish tinge. Yellowing or clouding of the lens is another factor in reducing the eye's ability to see light. In addition, the yellowing lens also acts as a filter, absorbing more blue and violet light. So this changes the perception of colors. White objects may appear yellow, and the distinction between blues and greens is decreased. And here we are with floaters. Floaters are caused by structural changes in the vitreous body, a large gel-like region that lies between the lens and the retina. In the aging eye, the vitreum liquefies and the gel portions clump together, causing spots or floaters that appear in the field of vision. I've had these in my own eyes. I've often wondered what they are, and now I know. Impairment of the macula, a yellowish area in the center of the retina that provides sharp central vision, is the leading cause of severe visual impairment among people aged 65 and over. The most common type of macular degeneration begins later in life, usually after the age of 60. This is known as age-related macular degeneration. It's a disorder that takes 2 forms. About 90% of older patients that have this less severe dry form, which is characterized by white or yellow lumps that form under the macula and can destroy light-sensitive cones. Very technical here, but I promise it's going to end soon. Although most patients retain useful vision, there is no effective treatment for the problem. And most people are familiar with ergonomics as it relates to the body and the effects of positioning, for example, sitting too long. Health practitioners are now claiming that sitting is the new smoking in terms of bad habits. Ergonomics as it relates to lighting is basically having the right amount and location of lighting for what you're doing. Older people require light levels that are 3 to 5 times higher than younger people need due to normal age-related changes to the eye and eye diseases. In addition, the quality of the light is equally important to the quantity of light for older, normal age-related changes to the eye and eye diseases. Here are the consequences of the aging eye that we must face. Okay, so enough with Eye Anatomy 101, but this is some of the things that we'll have to face. Reduced visual acuity, reduced contrast sensitivity, reduced color discrimination, increased time for accommodation, which we've just learned about, increased time for adaptation, increased sensitivity to glare, and disrupted circadian rhythms, which we'll get into in a little bit. So how do these afflictions affect our vision as we get older, and what can we do about it with regards to lighting our spaces? Well, some of the guidelines that we can right off the bat talk about are providing adequate illumination for the task, providing directionally appropriate lighting, selecting lighting products based on published criteria, and I'll define that in a few minutes, using natural daylight judiciously, being very cognizant of glare in our environment, and providing contrast. So let's delve into each one now. So light levels, how much light do we really need? And that's a really important question because a lot of us don't really know the answer to that. We just kind of light our spaces from what we think we might need. First, a little lighting terminology 101. A foot candle is a term used to measure the amount of light that falls on a surface that is 1 foot away from a single candle. The term foot candle, sometimes abbreviated as FC, originated from a time when candles were the main light source available. The IES, or Illuminating Engineering Society, publishes general recommendations per area, and this may vary per application and population type. But just keep in mind, it is just a guide. Notice in this chart, the over 65 aging eye category and how much more light is needed, more than 3 times as much as we age. So what areas in the home require the highest level of task lighting? Just to review the lighting needs we are familiar with, excuse me, reading fine print requires direct illumination overhead or to the side of the reader. Of course, computer screens generate their own light, but additional ambient light is needed as well to prevent eye strain. Work and study, home office lighting can benefit users by incorporating direct task lighting on the surfaces and indirect ambient light, so there is no glare on the computer screen. And how about food preparation, providing light on the surfaces where we prepare food and use sharp knives and cook? That ensures the safety protocols are being followed. And grooming, most bathrooms do not have adequate lighting. The best solution is wall-mounted fixtures at eye level and no more than 36 inches apart. In addition, general ambient lighting and a shower light are recommended. Many builders provide 1 recessed downlight over the sink. That's really not sufficient, and it'll only shadow the face for shaving and applying makeup. And then cleaning, how about cleaning? Well, it depends on how much dirt and grime you actually want to see, right? No, just kidding. When I clean in full daylight with my glasses on, I certainly do a better job. And then hobby areas and workshops would be on the higher end of the foot candle scale, as we need to see fine details and small parts, as well as for safety when working with power tools. So let's delve into how to design our lighting for the aging eye. Let's remember the 3 areas of concern that I spoke about earlier: emotional balance, performance, and fall prevention. It is very important to incorporate what they call layers of light in our lighting designs. This provides varying degrees of light as needed, as well as interest and comfort. Try not to rely on one central fixture to do all the work. Let's talk about lighting the kitchen. Under cabinet lighting is very important for kitchen task areas. Again, the Illuminating Engineering Society generally recommends 30 to 50 foot candles on the work surface. And this would fall in the category of performance. LED recessed downlighting is a viable and unobtrusive way to provide general ambient lighting in the space. Smaller apertures or diameters and lensed LED fixtures are now available and very energy efficient. Remember, downlighting is just that, it projects lighting down to the floor or onto a surface. And I do believe that we are moving away from this application with recessed down lighting and more towards less visible and more functional linear tape-like products that are actually hidden or veiled. But recessed lighting is still a pretty popular option in building today. Integrated LED has no bulb to change. An integrated LED light fixture is a light fixture which incorporates LEDs directly into the luminaire with a circuit board module. In comparison, a common lamp setup has a place to change out a traditional light bulb. Integrated LED lights connect directly with low or line volt electrical systems. And the main benefit of non-replaceable LED light is that it can burn up to an average of 30,000 hours. So if you use a lamp or a light for 6 hours a day, then the lamp is going to last up to 14 years. LEDs are environmentally friendly, they last longer, and they are very energy efficient, as they consume up to 85% less energy than halogen. Separate switch for over the sink can be used as a nightlight, and always remember to incorporate dimming controls. I just want to say with the LED, where it's got such a long life, this is a real great benefit for senior environments because they're not having to stand on ladders to change bulbs. And decorative lighting, our other category here, is exactly that. It's decorative, or sometimes they call it the jewelry of a home. It can serve many purposes. However, as a decorative feature, general ambient lighting and task lighting. So it can serve multiple purposes. It can be pretty and decorative to throw a theme into the space or define a design style. It can provide general ambient lighting for safety and fall prevention. It can also be task lighting. It can be lighting right on the surface of that kitchen island. Depending on the light output and color of this light, decorative lighting may address the category of emotional balance. And then indirect lighting in the kitchen, or what I like to call veiled ambient lighting, is a great way to illuminate a space without glare and overbearing brightness. It is a rather new directive when designing communities for the aging population. Also known as cove lighting, back in the day, we used to use fluorescent tubes. Now common is LED tape lighting and strip lighting, what they call chip on board or COB, with extrusions that take up very, very little space, are fully dimmable, and serve the purpose well. This would fall into the category of fall prevention because indirect lighting provides ambient light as a night light. So you could leave that on for someone who gets up in the middle of the night to go get a drink of water in the kitchen. Again, controls are key. The ability to dim the various light sources as needed and provide adequate illumination for the task is just good design. That being said, it can be complex. Try to keep the control solutions as simple as possible. Do seniors really want to use an iPhone app to control the lighting in their space? Probably not. However, pre-programmed scene control could be helpful. And let's define now a few of the lighting terms that you may come across when selecting light sources. We're going to talk about CCT, or correlated color temperature, CRI, or color rendering index, and we're going to define what glare is all about and how to avoid that. So CCT, or correlated color temperature, is important to know about when shopping for lighting. It's the most common color temperature, the most common color temperature for a home lighting source is 2700 K, measured on the Kelvin scale. It's more warm and amber lighting. This is like your warm, like an incandescent light. And then for commercial uses, it gets up to more of the 4000 to 6500 range. So just to show you the range of lighting color temperature based on the natural rhythm of the sun from rise to set, One of the most fascinating facts about lighting is that we can control it to affect our mood and biological clock. There has been much research on this concept of circadian rhythm. Older adults in senior living and long-term care can often have limited access to daylight and the positive biological and emotional balance it provides. Lighting can be a significant factor in creating ambience, and a person's mood may be influenced by an environment's artificial light. Brightness and color temperature could become tools to encourage emotional balance and well-being. Brighter light gives seniors that are often in new and unfamiliar surroundings a sense of security. Cooler, bluer light has been shown to trigger alertness during the day, and then dimming the light in the evenings with warmer, more amber color lighting evokes relaxation and promotes better sleeping patterns. So the Illuminating Engineering Society has published a guide on lighting and human health. And there really is an abundance of abundant evidence right now that daylight and electric light directly impact the circadian rhythms and sleep quality of all individuals, especially older adults. The Lighting Research Center has done a ton of work on this. And if you Google Lighting Research Center or Mount Sinai, you can follow Mariana Figaro, who I've had some great conversations with. And she has done a lot of studies on this science of circadian rhythm and how it relates to the regulation of the body functions in a 24-hour cycle. So tips for healthy lighting include getting plenty of morning daylight, and at home using high levels of white light during the daytime only, with low levels of warm light in the evening. And then the night and late nighttime. So warm light in the evening, cooler, whiter light during the day. And this pattern will actually help you regulate the melatonin production in one's circadian rhythm and sleep, while positively impacting health. So the more blue light we're exposed to, the more alert we are. So that's why they always tell you to try to turn your lights down at night, to try to dim them and make them more of that amber 2700 Kelvin temperature, and stay off your computers at night and your iPhones, or at least turn it to that warmer setting. Fascinating, I think. Electric light can mimic the various degrees of color offerings. So soft white, 2700 to 3000 K, those are good color temperatures for the home. This type of light is the most commonly found in like older incandescent bulbs. It's similar to the light output of a candle or its sunset. It's great for bedrooms and living rooms. Warm white, about 3000 to say 4000 Kelvin, is a good middle ground between warm yellow and soft white. It's perfect for kitchens and bathrooms. 3500 K is similar to natural midday light. And then your bright white light, which is 4000 K or Kelvin to 5000 K, is great. Shine in rooms with chrome fixtures and really brightens up a space, or in a room in need of bright light, such as a dark basement or a garage. Our daylight colors are 5000 to 6500 K, and the daylight in the name refers to the light produced resembling a cloudless afternoon day. So that particular temperature of color in a light bulb would be great for workshops and commercial usage. Let's talk about color rendering index. This is a universally accepted metric for color rendering capabilities, and it consists of a point system between 1 and 100, with the higher number providing the best color rendering properties. A CRI over 85 will improve an older adult's experience of the environment, including improved visual clarity and visual comfort. And CRI values are now offered in the 90s, which are very common with the new LED lamps on the market. And we'll see some of the products in the slides to come, but what we're trying to do here is define like what this is, because this is what you'll be looking for when you're selecting lighting. It'll be measured. And CRI addresses the way things really appear under a certain light source. So another thing to note is LRV, or light reflectance value, as it pertains to wall finishes and colors. So in the environment, we want to have light colored walls, but we don't want them to be too glossy, because then the reflectance value goes up, and that's when you have glare. This technical criteria can be identified on most paint manufacturers' websites, such as Ben Moore. For each paint color you select, you can find the LRV. So the higher the LRV, the higher the light reflectance value of that color for your walls. And then a typical incandescent bulb can have a CRI of 100, which is ideal. Some of the newer LED sources are now ranging from 90 to 95 and higher. Let's talk a little bit about glare. Glare is the sensation produced by extreme luminance within the normal field of view that is sufficiently greater than the luminance to which the eyes can adapt. Types of glare include direct, reflected, and overhead. We're all familiar with the headlights coming towards us on the highway. There is discomfort glare and disability glare, which ranges from bothersome to our inability to function in the space. Direct glare is excessive light misdirected toward the eye. For example, an oncoming headlight or misdirected lighting fixtures. Reflected glare is excessive uncontrolled luminance reflected from objects on surfaces in the field of view. So for example, from a computer screen or specular surface, such as a glossy marble floor. And then we have overhead glare, which refers to excessive brightness from overhead or ceiling fixtures. Lamps should be shielded with angled lenses to prevent glare to occupants. And then, you know, in this design shot, we need to be aware of how directional type lighting, such as track heads, are positioned. Badly designed direct lighting negatively affects visual performance. Individuals with eye diseases depend greatly on non-glare ambient lighting. In such cases, indirect lighting that provides glare-free, shadowless light is more suitable and comfortable for persons with ocular diseases, as well as those that are sensitive to glare. And then big windows are wonderful. We love natural daylight in our space, but we need to control the sun with shading devices. This commercial application did not account for the west-facing afternoon sun. So let's talk a little bit about actual LED lighting. It's now the most common type of lighting used in the built environment. What exactly is LED? Well, LED stands for light emitting diode, which are small light sources that work with electrons and semiconductor materials. LEDs are small and can be integrated into many products to provide white light. They are also available in many colors, like we've seen them in Christmas lights, for example. And they're now widely used in all types of lighting. They got like really popular, I think, around 2008, 2009, and replaced a lot of the fluorescent technology that we had as far as energy efficient lighting. Unlike fluorescent lighting, they're mercury free. We don't have to worry about disposal because they're mercury free, and they last much longer than typical incandescent lamps. And then there's a new way of shopping for lighting for these LED sources. Here is the official Department of Energy lighting facts label that was published around 2007 to disseminate the information for these newer LED light sources. It was designed similar to a nutritional facts label on foods, which I believe was a very clever idea to make the technical information understandable and digestible to the average consumer, as well as to us industry professionals. You can see in the diagram that watts has been replaced with lumens. Lumens measures how much light you are getting from a bulb or lamp versus the old way of equating watts of a bulb, which is the measure of electricity used. Watts is still on the label as well as lumens per watt used for efficacy. So efficacy is like the lumens per watt. So that's the amount of energy used for that bulb and how much light you're going to get from it. On the right, we see the published criteria for the terms we just covered, CCT and color rendering index. And in addition, the Illuminating Engineering Society industry standards are listed that measure and test and publish this. They measure and test and publish this information for specifiers of lighting to reference. That's more of like the commercial end of things. There is a new TM30 standard, which is new and addresses the color rendering index of lighting. So this is a really handy label to see. You'll see this if you even go buy a light bulb now at Home Depot, you'll find this lighting label fact sheet, and it'll help you to understand the color temperature that you're purchasing. And it's always important to make sure you're not picking out a very, very cool temperature light bulb, and then you'll get it home and you won't be happy with it. So this takes the guesswork out of it. And then it's critical to know the equivalent lumens of typical incandescent light sources. A typical 60-watt lamp provides approximately 800 lumens, and the 100-watt lamp generates 1600 lumens. So actually, you may be hard-pressed to find these bulbs at your local supplier right now. In 2007, the Energy Independence and Security Act proposed a ban on the high wattage, inefficient incandescent bulbs or lamps on the market. Starting around 2014, the sale of 75-watt and 100-watt incandescent lamps or bulbs were prohibited in place of newer and more energy efficient fluorescent and LED sources. For more information on the evolution of these changes and current regulations, refer to the EnergyStar.gov website, and that'll show you how it kind of evolved, and then it kind of went back to accepting the technology and the most reliable resources for this type of energy efficient technology now currently. So let's look at some lighting applications for senior living. We talked a little bit about under cabinet lighting. These are some of the guidelines when selecting under cabinet lighting. Obviously, if you want them hardwired and not plugging into an outlet, you'd want to hire a licensed electrician. You'd want to identify the power source. You want to fit those lighting strips to the cabinet width. Definitely look and choose your correct color temperature. Kichler under cabinet lighting makes a color tunable product. So you can choose the color temperature of your choice when you're installing it, 2700 or 3000. And installing towards the front edge of the upper cabinet. So in this application, those fixtures are installed right to the front edge, but there's a casing for that lighting. It's not tape. This is not tape lighting. So it's a pretty good size fixture, if you will. And the light strip itself is more towards the middle. So actually the best application is for that light to be somewhere between the front of the cabinet and the middle of the cabinet so that it lights the counter. Always install with dimmers. And like I said, smaller profile tape light is now available. And these products are available to use under like toe kicks. That's a very popular way to do it now for senior living because that also provides ambient lighting in the evening and fall prevention. And also above the cabinets like we saw on that previous slide for indirect uplighting. Here's an example of an integrated LED recessed retrofit application. Notice their frosted lenses. You don't see any bulb, and the adjustability on that pitch ceiling. These are often referred to as gimbal trims. Juno Halo is a common brand. And I just installed the Juno Pod series, PODZ, which is a 4-inch what they call canless installation. It's very, very low profile. So if you don't have a lot of space in that ceiling plenum, you could very easily install these recessed downlights. They have the warm dim feature and a very low profile. And then there's also disc type lighting that's available, which it looks like a recessed downlight, but it's actually surface mounted. The gimbal LED recessed light features an adjustable 360-degree motion with an adjustable beam angle, making it suitable for a wide range of applications. So that photo on the left is a pitch ceiling, but you can adjust that recessed down lighting so it's not shining into someone's eyes. If you've ever gone to someone's house that has a cathedral ceiling with recessed downlights, sometimes the light is shining right in your eye as you're sitting on the sofa. So this allows you to point that light in whatever direction you want it to be in. And then track lighting can be a viable solution for flexibility and accent lighting, as well as general lighting. The smaller integrated LED track heads are now available, no bulbs to change. It's all that small circuitry with the LED diodes. And they also can be retrofitted into older track systems, but you have to check the compatibility of the track connection that you have to make sure that it'll work. It gets a little tricky, but it can be done. I've done it. And then this veiled or cove type lighting is great for senior environments. It provides soft, glare-free ambient light, which we talked about earlier. Some of the recommended brands would be American Lighting, Klus with a K, K-L-U-S, and WAC. Makes this very low profile tape type lighting or extrusion type lighting, and you can angle it at different degrees so that you want to hit the light on the ceiling in a certain way, or depends on the profile of your molding or your architectural detail. It just provides a very soft, indirect way to light the space without a lot of glare. And then notice on this overhead lighting in this nursing and rehabilitation home, it's ample for passage in the hallways. So egress, keeping the spaces that are traveled well lit, but it's not the only source of light. We installed additional wall sconces to provide more of a balanced light and light the walls themselves. You could do this in different ways. You could add an up-down wall sconce so that it would graze the wall below. And also notice the contrasting finishes on the handrails. And those lights can be dimmed in the evening hours. Oh, and touch lamps are coming back. They're extremely functional for task lighting and those with arthritic hands. Let me see if I can get this to work. You know, I'm sure you know how it works, but it's a great solution for older people that don't want to have to reach for the lamp in the middle of the night and don't want to have to grip those small little knobs. Then we have these very inexpensive plug-in motion activated devices. They're used, it's really a must for bedrooms and hallways to provide safe passage from room to room during the night, the low light level and warm dim feature, and ensures a restful return to bed. So they basically go on when you move, stay on for about 20 seconds, you come back into the room, you get back into bed, you haven't been woken up by the bright light, but it ensures safety. And these are available online, very inexpensive. So to reiterate the concept of layers of light, the result is balanced light, adjustability for where and when we need lighting, incorporating user-friendly controls for separate switching or programming scenes. And this is something that you'd have to work out with your electrician and someone who's fully knowledgeable about the latest control methods. So in summary, let's review some of the recommendations for good lighting as we age. We want to use consistent light levels throughout the home to prevent adaptation issues and accommodation issues. We want to increase light levels in areas of the home where to improve functionality and prevent falls. So on stairs, you must have good stair lighting at the top and bottom. And definitely those contrasting colors on stairs so that they don't all blend together when you're walking down, or, if you don't have a good level of light there, sometimes the stairs can be really tricky to navigate. Using indirect or uplighting for soft, comfortable ambient illumination. Using light colored matte finish or flat walls with good light reflectance value, and high contrasting colors on floors and steps and railings and other surfaces so that people can differentiate between the surfaces. And we also want to implement appropriate task lighting to avoid eye strain and fatigue. Also dimmers. Controls are so important because we can throw in all kinds of bright light, but if we can't dim it down at the end of the day, it's going to throw off our sleep and wake cycle. Being aware of color, temperature, and rendering of light sources for comfort, accuracy, and better sleep and wake cycles. Controlling sources of glare to prevent discomfort and unwanted reflectances. Getting daily exposure from natural daylight for optimal health and well-being. And dimming down the light at night for a better night's sleep. And I just want to make a note on special attention should be given to those with vision impairment and eye disease and other physical impairments. Consulting with a doctor or occupational therapist is recommended when designing spaces for the elderly. I'm an interior designer. I want form to follow function, but I also want it to be safe for my clients. So if I'm working with someone who has some of these, eye impairments or any kind of impairment for that matter, I want to consult with someone who knows the physical body and what, I may be missing as a designer. So I rely on those medical professionals when designing spaces. And thank you very much. These are some of the resources that we used in the presentation. And now I think we may have a little time for some Q&A.
Very good, Margie. A complete presentation. So I don't see anything in the chat box, so fire away. Any questions? Yeah, Rebecca, go right ahead.
Yeah, Marjorie. We have task lights, touch lights that are right by our chairs that we sit in the evening. And I don't know what those are, but they're bright lights, like a task light. Are those recommended for an evening type reading sort of situation?
What you'd want to do is make sure that it's shielded. So first of all, it's not shining in your eye. It's not glaring.
Yeah, it's about, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like not above the eyes, but it's more like here. And
eye level.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you have like a cone of light on the work surface or on that reading material. And the thing with task lighting is you don't want it to be too bright in the evening hours. So if you're reading a book, if you have like a 3-way lamp, put it on that first level so that you're not getting super bright light in the evening that might affect your sleep.
These touch lights that you turn on just by touching it. They're very inexpensive at the local Lowe's and Home Depot, and people seem to want those kinds of things.
Yeah, I just found a really cool one. It's crystal. It's a crystal touch lamp. I just wanted to see if they had anything more decorative in the way of touch lamps, and they really do. I think they are kind of coming back because I remember having them in my parents' house when I was younger. So
Actually, we had a question come in here. Somebody wants you to reiterate the difference between accommodating and adaptation.
Oh, sure. Okay. So let me go back to, let me see if I can look at it from here. Yeah, accommodation is, one of them is distance. I always get them mixed up, but one of them is distance and one of them is like, when you come out of a theater, like, you know, when you come out of a movie theater and you've been in the dark for 2 hours and then all of a sudden you step out into the light. That is adaptation. Accommodation is more for seeing like distance, so that if you know, like the amount of light that you see, you know, the amount of light that you have in the environment helps you to see your distance. So the true definition is accommodation is the process of focusing the eye at different distances, and adaptation is the ability to adjust vision in bright and dark areas. So, you know, it's kind of like I said, like it's harder to adjust from light to, I'm sorry, from dark to light than it is from light to dark. So again, coming out of a movie theater is harder to adjust your eyes to than, say, going in to the movie theater from being outside in the daylight. And so that's adaptation.
Okay, Izzy, you had a question?
Yes, it's regarding the same topic, adaptation. Is there a time frame, a standard time frame for the eye to adapt, coming out from dark to light and from light to dark?
Yes, there is. I didn't include that in the presentation, but there is published information on like how long it takes to adjust your eyes. It could be like a couple of minutes, like 2 minutes to 5 minutes or something like that.
Okay, is there have you seen it on the internet or?
Yeah, I know it's in
research?
some of my lighting material that I've studied. I can send that to Steve and he can send it to you.
Great.
There has
Great.
been some studies done on that, like what the actual time lapse is for
Okay.
adjusting the eye. Sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, other questions. Let's see, we have, there was a question here about tunable lighting products available for home remodeling. Adjustable or tunable lighting products for home remodeling.
Color tunable.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that's kind of the new craze right now is these color tunable light fixtures. And there's a little controversy around it, honestly. Like I was at the IES conference that was in Boston a few years ago, and there were a ton of manufacturers there with color tunable light products. And it was all the rage because of this, you know, this new research done on circadian rhythm and having to have warmer color temperatures versus cool, and the need to adjust it for evening. And so there's been a ton of products that have come out on the market. But at this IES conference, there was a PhD that actually stood up there and said, it's not all that necessary to have color tunable light. Like as long as you use basic principles around lighting and, you know, dim them down at night, use warmer color temperatures in your home, use the whiter, bluer light during the day for alertness. That's basically what you're trying to do. But, you know, that being said, I think it's nice to have the option, because when I've been installing under cabinet kitchen lighting, you know, sometimes people prefer a light over another light. So if you can change it from 2700 to 3000 Kelvin, you know, some people prefer that 3000 K temperature, and some people prefer the warmer one. So the good thing about it is that there's an option to choose. And so I think that's the takeaway. And also there's all kinds of new products from Lutron coming out that like are warm dim, and you can like change the color of your lighting with the slide of a button. So I guess it depends on the budget. What your budget is and what your preferences are. But, I think maybe as we get older, as we get along with these older folks in senior living, that this adjustable lighting will be more important, because we definitely need to have that option.
And we had a question here about your favorite, or if you have one to recommend, style of dimmer, in that the controls often are hard to reach or to manipulate for someone. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like something with absolute, you want to have like a bigger switch so that it's not like so fine and small that you have to like locate it with your fingernail. But I know the toggle switches are good just for light switches, but as far as dimmability, just like a slide dimmer or something that has like programmable scenes. So I like the idea of having like, okay, this is the light we use when we're cooking dinner. This is the light we use when we're watching TV. And so if you can like set up scenes ahead of time, I think it would be beneficial to the user to, we definitely want to keep controls as simple as possible. We don't want to complicate, and it can get very, very complicated.
Okay,
I know I'm learning about Ketra. That's a new, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm hoping to learn more about the new Ketra dimmer.
Okay, time for a couple more questions. This one's a longer question, so I'm going to read it rather than paraphrase.
Okay.
You talked about changing the lighting. You use it different times of the day for circadian rhythm. Which lighting, task, ambient, accent, decorative would you use? The cooler, brighter lights versus the warmer, less bright lights?
Okay, so yeah, so definitely what you want is bright, cooler light in the morning to, promote alertness. And then that warmer ambient lighting at night to promote restfulness. It's kind of, pretty evident that that's what we need to do. I don't know if I answered the question. Would you use the cooler, brighter lights versus the warmer, less bright lights? So yeah, cooler, brighter lights in the daytime. And then after like dinner, you start dimming them down and you use those warmer lights. So as Rebecca was saying with the task light, you don't want like a bright, 4,000 Kelvin lamp next to you on your bedside table. You'd want like a lower wattage, more warmer source of light.
And then Allison had a follow-up, like, where would you install those?
Well, it's any of that type of lighting that we talked about. So depending on like, if you have kitchen lighting under cabinet lighting, you can dim those down at night so that when you go into the kitchen for a cup of tea or something, it's not going to be like bright and, promoting alertness. It's going to be more of on the dimmer scale. So you just like, it really depends on the application of the light. So overhead lighting, just always put it on a dimmer.
Okay, one other question here that I think is good. I think this is something that touches on an area that many of us will be involved in. Can you address lighting for the sundowning that takes place in people's homes with a person of dementia? Any suggestions on that?
Exactly. So that's what some of the studies that were done at the Lighting Research Center were about. And it's really going back to that concept of, people tend to have a little bit of anxiety and agitation around at the end of the day, which is called sundowners. And in order to incorporate good lighting, it's still based on that premise that if you get daylight exposure during the day as much as possible, whether it be natural daylight or going outside and sitting on a patio, weather permitting, using like the bluer, whiter light in these activity rooms and dining halls during the day. And then when they get to the evening hours, we're dimming down, we're turning the color temperature to a warmer amber light. And because they were alert during the day, they sleep better at night. So they might not be taking as many naps during the day. So that induces sleep at night.
All right. I don't know if that answered the question. That was a good answer. Anything else real quickly? I know Margie could stay on here for quite a while and you guys could fill her with questions, but we're going to, I think, bring our presentation. And there was a question about the slides, but this presentation was recorded. So you will have everything that Margie did. You can go back. It'll be posted to my website within a day or two, and you can see everything out there. So I am going to thank Margie for a great presentation. Check out our next one. Y'all can register on the website as you did for this one. And we are going to